Whenever.
It's on you.
Yeah. It's your I fucked it up. I already fucked. We're second in.
Go on, just take your time.
We can edit this, right?
100%. I'm going to edit all of this. Don't worry.
Okay, perfect. All right. Yeah. It's the Urban Mercenary Shotgun Adams coming to you live from the Three Count Podcast. Listen to it and act like you know, hoes.
Bet. And then we'll get this thing started in three, two, one. Welcome everyone to another great edition of the Three Count Podcast presents Now Entering, and now I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you all down Mountain Cold Wrestling. And with this being a new season and our 400th something episode, I would just hope you say it with me. I am your Sherpa because, like your tribal chief, acknowledge me. But like every good Sherpa, you gotta have someone who's been there, done that, and can do it more efficient than you can. That's why it's never about me. It's about who's entering. So who's entering? You can find this person at Focus Pro, Wrestlers Lab, Victory Pro, Tesla Strength, Pro Wrestling Magic, Invictus, BCW. He's a bad man. He's come from East New York. He's urban mercenary. He is Shotgun Adams.
What up? What up?
Yo, what's up, man? Like, hey, real talk. Like, it's funny because like we met in Massachusetts, right? We met over at Focus Pro, but I have been following you for a while, like on like IG and like Twitter. I've just been following you, just like checking you out and scoping out the scene, and then you pop up on my Facebook every once in a while as like a wrestler you may know, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, I'll follow that person, and then we met each other, and then we got to scrap it out in the ring.
Yeah, nah. You got lucky on that night, by the way. I just want to make that clear.
It's all right. It's a great part about being a fun mercenary and not an urban one.
Or what you trying to say, bro?
It's just
What you trying to
randomness.
say?
That's all it is. That's all it is. It's just randomness. It's just sometimes random things happen, and whatever you want to call it, lucky victories. Victories happen.
Yeah. Okay. Uh,
Anyway,
honestly, like I'm still getting used to that kind of treatment. Like motherfuckers is following me, and it's just like, hey, I'll check you out on this, that, and the third, and I'm just like, shit, I know so many people were clocking me.
yeah. I mean, it's a mercenary business. We gotta keep track of each other. That's the whole part of just like learning the biz and hanging out. I think what it is too. What makes it fun though is that like you you know, you come from, like I said, East New York. But the one thing about you too is that you're in like a wild, wild range of like wrestling because it's not like someone could just pin you down and be like, oh, he's a technical wrestler. Oh, he's just a because you're involved with like I see you on the deathmatch scene. I see you in the like working regular shows. I see you working on tags. So you know, I can follow and clock, and I'm like, yo, like I really like watching your work. So from one work to another, I gotta appreciate the work.
It's all love. I appreciate it. Uh, I never try to pin myself down to any one thing in wrestling because I feel like this game is really all about like like a lot of people like to find their niche and that's fine. But honestly, when you stay in one scene for so long, it just kind of gets boring to me. So like I want to try everything.
I know it's one thing I like about like wrestling too. It's for everybody. I mean, it doesn't matter like where you come from, like what walk of life, but it's a nice thing that everybody there's a place for everybody somewhere. Like you wanna wrestle in a place where like there's like a terrible city somewhere randomly. You can do that. There's a place for that. Like kaiju battlegrounds, and if you want to go wrestle somewhere where you feel like you're in the 1920s, 1930s being filmed, old time wrestling in Ohio. So it's weird to see like wrestling has like such a unique uh ability to bring people of all sorts of walks of life together.
The way I've always looked at wrestling is like, and it's cliche, but it's the truth. Wrestling is a three ring circus. You know what I'm saying? Like, so if you don't like the trapeze artists, you're probably gonna like the sword swallowers or like the fire eaters. And if you don't like those, you'll probably like the lion tamers and shit like that. Or the guy like shooting himself out of a fucking cannon. Uh, and you know, wrestling's the same thing. Like there's people that know how to fly. There's people that can technically wrestle you into submission. There's people that could beat your ass pillar to post, you know, myself included. Uh, there's people who could crack you over the dome with a chair or a cookie sheet or whatever the fuck. There's something in it for everybody. And I think that whenever somebody tries to like go out there and say, well, that's not real wrestling, this is real wrestling, da, 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 and I'm just like, all right, motherfucker, who asked you though?
Yo, it's like it is weird because it's like you're like that's not real wrestling. This is real wrestling. I'm like, bro, like I don't think you understand. All right, I mean, I'm gonna let you have your thing. You say it's not real, but literally, I'm watching one dude who's known for being like a hardcore like deathmatch wrestler in the ring, getting down, doing a kid and play, and then clotheslining another dude in a dance battle. Like,
Bruh.
what are you telling me? I
Oh
don't
my God.
care.
When I saw that, I was just like, y- I've seen just about everything in wrestling. Ain't never seen that before.
No, and I think about that constantly. It's like, bro, like it happens, and it's so funny to see that like people try to peg wrestling as like this one thing, and it's like I don't think you understand. It's a form of entertainment. Like
Oh,
it's an
because
artistic event.
it's this weird tribalism with wrestling.
Yeah,
Like, here's the thing. I can understand it when like old timers who've been around and actually made money doing this, like have their opinions on wrestling. Like, fine. You like your vanilla, I like my chocolate. Like, I'm not gonna hate on you for it. But
yeah,
when like I have my preferences when it comes to wrestling. I like my wrestling hard hitting and violent. Like I can appreciate technical wrestling. I can appreciate a little deathmatch wrestling. But yeah, like I like wrestling when it's intense, when like it's emotional, it's physical. Like that's my shit. Now,
yeah.
I'm not as big a fan of comedy wrestling, and that's okay. It's not for me. But am I gonna sit here and be like, oh, if you wrestle comedy matches, you should die? Like, no. Watch
No,
something else. Yo,
yeah. I mean,
there's a whole, there is an entire service dedicated to every form of independent wrestling in America that you can go right now subscribe to for like I don't know, like what is it, like $5, $6 a month,
I think
if
it's
that,
9.99, 9.99.
$9.99.
Yeah, yeah, 9.99.
Oh, what does that remind you of? No, uh,
It's the same as WWE, the WWE show. Remember how they used to program that? They'd be like, "Yo, it's 9.99 on the WWE network." That's what it was. That's what I was looking for. But yeah,
I mean, I never paid. I bummed it. I'm telling you,
I had to pay for it numerous times.
I got that free trial, baby. Nah,
But you're right though. But you're right because IWTV does have like it is dedicated to a lot of different types of wrestling. Whether you're into deathmatch wrestling, you can find all that stuff on there. If you want to find something that's more kind of quirky or out there, like it's out there. It's out there. If you're a fan of wrestling and you're a fan of certain types of wrestling, you can find it on IWTV.
yeah. And so it's wild to me that everybody has to be like, no, this is the way it is. I'm just like, is it? Because if you watch WWE, right? If you watch any professional wrestling for a period of time, a lot of the shit that gets over is just like if you try to explain it to a normal person, they'll look at you like you got four heads. I'm like, what the fuck is you talking about? Like, I don't care what nobody says, bro. Like, The Undertaker is one of the most over gimmicks in the history of wrestling. And it's literally a zombie magician that
Yeah,
is also an Undertaker for some reason. You,
yeah,
You just run with the shits. You just run with the shits. Like that's just what it is. And I think that my personal philosophy with wrestling is that what engages me with wrestling most is when I can believe in it. That's me.
Yeah.
Like, and the way I've come to that is that like anytime that I fixate on a certain figure in wrestling, it's because I am engaged in them, and that's because I feel like their presentation has some kind of realness to it. Like it's true to who they are.
Yeah. That
Uh
so I hold on. I just want to say because like that's the way I feel. Like so, my kind of comedy is just something that can get you emotionally attached to it, right? But my favorite wrestler, right? I don't want to say my favorite wrestler. Let's just call it my favorite character. I don't give a fuck. Whatever. My favorite character is Bray Wyatt. And it wasn't because Bray he wasn't the biggest, he wasn't the fastest, he wasn't the strongest, right? But he had that way of getting you to follow along and understand where he is coming from and just that smooth style of talk. And it's that character and then Vincent, right? In Ring of Honor with the Righteous. Like those two characters I love watching because I find myself getting wrapped up and captivated in the world that they've created. And I think that's so important because it's like, yeah, you can be down with our truth and you can love all the comedy Get Me say he does. I know I do, right? You can be down with a New Day and you can be powered by the positivity, or as we just recently saw, you just boot Big E out and you get so much
actually
heat.
actually the New Day is I'm sorry to cut you off. The New Day is a perfect example of it because these are guys that were handed a gimmick that on paper should have tanked
Yeah.
like the fucking Hindenburg. But because they put enough of themselves into the gimmick, whether it's Woods like playing a trombone and playing the fucking victory tune from Final Fantasy, uh whether it's these guys like dressing up as Dragon Ball Z characters or wearing unicorn horns, or like Biggie just wilding out every time he's got a microphone. Like it was perfect.
Yeah.
And they got more over than damn near anybody in that company.
Yep.
And now like so as a fan, I'm excited to see what comes next. But
And,
that's
and to be fair, like, and not that we would talk about the current product, but the New Day is still over, and I don't care. You can call it whatever you want. Like the heat that they have gotten over the last few weeks, and when if you guys want to timestamp this, okay, it's December 10th, okay. So last night was Raw. That was the first time they came back after they kicked out Big E from they got and they got in Big E's ass. I don't care what they say. They got in his ass and everybody turned their back on them. They went out and man, the crowd booed the shit out them. So obviously they're still over because the crowd hates them now, and it doesn't matter
and
what they're eliciting that emotion that we ultimately want to see.
that's the key to the how you get people to pay for a ticket, and that it's on any level in this profession. How you get them to pay for a ticket is to get them emotionally invested in what's going on.
Yep.
That's why, as much as I love technical wrestling matches, like it's equally important that you get them into you as the individual. Like okay, let me name some current examples, and I'm gonna pick some from my home school right now because fuck it, why not? Uh, Angelo Carter is blowing up all over the Northeast, and I've watched this dude from the first day he came into T2T turn himself into uh, being the leaps and bounds he's improved by is insane to me. Like when I play it back in my head from where he started to where he's at now. And he did it all by being unapologetically himself, by drawing from his influences and bringing that out and getting people to care. Now, when I hear Alien Superstar by Beyonce, he is all I can think about. Actually, when I listen to Beyonce in general, Angelo is all I can think about. Because yo,
That's crazy.
that individual, holy shit.
It's funny because like when I was at Focus Pro, it was my first time being at the show, and I heard the cameras going off, and when Angelo came out and stood on that ring and was looking at hard cam, and the song was like, now pause and pose, and came out the big fan. I was like, oh, Angelo got this. I was like, this crowd is
And
wrapped up.
that's what you do. It's like when you find yourself, when you find your chord to strike, and it doesn't matter what you do, as long as you are unapologetically yourself, people will react.
I think
If you Because they'll feel that realness, they'll feel that
yeah,
energy, and
that's
then
right on the head, bro. That's
you
right on the
take
head.
that moment and you fucking own it. That's what you do.
Yeah, and it goes back to something you've hit on this like numerous times, man. It's just being genuine. Like people will react to genuality. They don't want some forced on character. They're not going to react to it. They don't care about it. They want you to be you. They want to be able to connect to you somehow. And and you've said it right that you've said it to me in private, right? But that people genuinely connect to people who are like themselves and then like crank it up. Like one or two characteristics about you, but you just crank it up. And I think
Yeah.
about that a lot. Like it's very important. And I know like that's the part about me that I crank up the most is just the quirkiness and then just the relatability. Like you're in a ring, I'm getting my ass beat, and I'm looking at some random girl in the crowd. And I don't know if you saw this or not, because this was definitely something I did. I was getting my ass beat by you, and I reached out to some random girl, and I was like, "Yo, tag me in. I need your help." And she was like, "No." I was like, "Yo," but it's that moment that you lock eyes with that person, and you're like, "Help me, help me," and they're like, he's beating your ass. He's gonna beat both of us up. Like I don't want to do this. Like, yeah, so it's those moments that if you can make those connections, they're genuine connections, people will gravitate towards you.
So, honest to God, well, we talk about finding your chord and being genuine and just being yourself and cranking that up. Like it's both harder and easier than you think. Like it's kind of a paradox
Yeah,
because so many places w- uh they'll still believe in this idea that like, oh well, you will do what the promoter tells you, and that's true to a degree. Like if the promoter tells you to do this, that, the third, hit these bullet points, whatever the fuck, fine. But you can't go out there and wrestle for me. Like you can't go out there and act the way I act or do the things that I do because you're not me.
facts.
And and if we're being real, it took a long time for me to get there because for so long in my early career, it was always when you first get in, you're like this eager kid, and you just want to please everybody because it's your dream, and you find and you're so grateful, and you do with this, and then you agree to a bunch of shit that, in hindsight, you probably shouldn't have agreed to. Like, oh my god, the amount of things that like got stuck on me over the years. Like, there's footage out there of me wearing a fucking cowboy hat, and that's a story in and of itself. Like, this was back when I was still training under Johnny Rods. And like Johnny's the kind of dude that will endlessly test you to see whether or not you have an ego. Uh, so one day at a Johnny show, I took a cowboy hat from one of the tag teams there called the Honchos, and I put it on and I took a selfie and I posted it on Facebook. It was just like it was a fucking rib. Johnny sees that and he's like, "Oh, Paul, you a cowboy now?" And I'm like, "Fuck!" And you can't argue with the motherfucker because it's Johnny. And it's just like, what the fuck you gonna do? So I try to rock the cowboy gimmick. I try to stick with it for like a year. And after a while, I'm just like, oh my God, this sucks. Like, what am I doing? And in looking back on everything, in spite of my tone, I don't regret any of it. I don't regret none of it because it taught me some valuable life lessons that I take to this day. Like, uh, it's good to compromise to be able to, but just never switch up who you are.
Yeah.
I've been guilty of that. Uh, I remember when I first got on the indie scene, I was made the general manager of the BWF or whatever, and now all of a sudden I'm, you know, I'm grateful for the opportunity because it allowed me to get more comfortable on the mic. And I was always good at cutting promos. I didn't have enough experience grabbing a microphone and being able to get an audience to get into what I was saying. So I'm grateful for that much. That experience was invaluable. But I watch it back and I'm just so cringe because like I'm still talking like Dominican Matt Striker. Like you would not guess for even a second that I was from the hood. You wouldn't guess that I was from Brooklyn. Like like none of it. And in my head it was because it was just like, oh well, you can't go out there as an authority figure and talk like you like chilling on the block or whatever.
Yeah. But you
So
know
instead
what?
I
Like,
come out talking like Carlton Banks.
yo, damn.
Oh my God, bro. I cringe. You don't understand how much I cringe looking at this shit. And it wasn't until I hit T2T and quick quick little side note right here. So the summer of 2020, I was in a really bad way, like mentally and physically, because it was locked down. Like how I got there was in like the winter of 2019, like I blew my knee out during training because at that point I've been
Mm,
so out of shape. Uh and I decided to rehab instead of getting surgery. And 6 months later, after rehabbing, relearning how to hit the gym properly, like I was ready to come back, but it was March of 2020.
mm,
All of a sudden, everything's closed.
yeah.
And nobody knows when it's about to open up again. So like now I am in probably the worst slump of my entire life. I'm overeating. I stop working out. I drink every day. Like all of a sudden, all that weight that I lost goes right the fuck back on me. So in August of 2020, King of Chaos Logan Black, he hits me up and he's like, "Hey, listen, I know you still want this. I've got this school I opened up in Williamsburg called T2T. At the time, it was him, uh, MV Young, and Brother Greatness as the head trainers. And I already knew Brother Greatness for a couple of years up to that point, and I knew Logan for a couple of years up to that point. I never met MV before that, but like I went over there with the sole intention of making this like my reset button personally. Like I didn't come in there being like, "Oh, I know all this shit because I did this and that." I'm like, no, I came in there with one goal: to get in as good a shape as possible and to rebuild myself from the ground up. Learning the basics. I didn't give a fuck if we were doing quarter rolls for a year. I was going to get better at this. And I'm happy to report that I did. And it was also through T2T that I was able to like find that piece of myself that like I wouldn't say it was hidden, but that I just never brought out in public.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So, so that's when I eventually crafted the urban mercenary gimmick, and the concept behind that was, you know, I wanted to get into wrestling because I love professional wrestling. I love the sport of it, and how do I translate that to the urban mercenary gimmick? Is like I love nothing more than beating the shit out of motherfuckers for money. If you give me money, point me in the direction of who needs their ass beat. And that's just it.
It's funny, man, because like you're okay. So your gimmick, right? I don't want to call your gimmick. You, right? You yourself, right? Because that's what it is. Ultimately, it's you. You're the urban mercenary. Like you said, it's a direct pull from something that you love doing, right? The way I always interpreted indie wrestling, right? I didn't even know. I just thought this was wrestling in general. So I started training. Funny enough, you mentioned January of 19, December of 2019, right?
Yeah.
In that time frame, I started training January of 2020, and
Well, no, I
I
didn't
started
start
working.
training in 2019.
No, I just mean that you mentioned 2019. I had
Oh yeah,
started training. I
that's
had
my
started
fault.
training January 2020. And
Yeah.
so I'm like getting 2 months in. I'm like, yo, I'm hitting this gym. I'm hitting this ring every week. Like I'm having fun. March of 2020 happens, and everything again gets closed down, just like you mentioned. And you know, months go by, and finally my trainer was like, "Yo, like I'm gonna have a small group of people come over here. We can train if you guys want to." And I remember started restarting in Memorial Day weekend, like starting back at it again. And I felt like I took a step back, which I mean, I did take a step back because obviously, like I had just started and I'm like still trying to figure this out. Um, what was crazy was that my trainer at the time was like, "Hey, we need to start thinking about developing your gimmick," and I was like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And he's like, "Your character, like you're a former military, like you should do like a military gimmick, be like all serious and stuff, like just like how the military does, like just stoic, like you're just relentless and you're just gonna keep marching forward no matter what." And I was like, "Okay, well, yeah, but I do all those things, but that's not really me." And he was like, "Well, just give it a go." And so for like 6 months, I did, and I was like, "I hate it." And he's like, "Well, hold on, keep trying." So the following year, in like May time frame, I want to say, I was like, "Ayo, we throwing in the towel. We not doing this one." And he's like, "What you mean?" I was like, "We got to change this up because I feel like this is too forced. I don't like it. I don't care about like this serious side of like this gimmick." He's like, "Okay, well then tell me about how would you cut the promo?" And so I remember cutting this promo, finally chains off, right? And I'm just like real high energy, real dark humor. And he was just like, "Okay, well now you're gonna start cutting these promos this way. This is what you're gonna do, and however you want to do the promo, you can do the promo the way you want to do it." He's like, "I like this. It just feels more natural." And I was like, "Bet." And so, my pull comes right from probably same kind of like you. It's just like this dark spot that we just kind of have, and we just like to like mess with it all the time, like and just see like how it reacts to whatever we're getting into.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you just gotta be willing to try shit and fall on your face for it. Because you're never gonna get anywhere staying in your comfort zone. You're just not.
Mm-mm.
You, you gotta be comfortable being uncomfortable constantly because that's the only way you grow.
Yep.
If you go to the gym, right? I mean, yeah, obviously you go to the fucking gym, but like, stick with me here. If you go to the gym and you are lifting the same weights day in and day out, you don't change, you don't you don't change the weight, you don't change the routine, you don't do anything. You're just doing the same thing over and over. How far do you expect to get? Realistically. You might get
Yeah.
some beginner gains at first, but like
Hmm.
you're gonna
Eventually,
plateau
you're here.
easily.
Yep.
And then you're just bored. And then you don't want to do it no more. And that's kind of how I've come to see wrestling. And because for so long, let's keep it a stack here. For so long, as much as I love wrestling, my main problem was that I was always obsessed with making it, whatever that even means anymore. Uh, it was just like I was stressing out about everything. I was stressing out about how I wrestled. I was stressed about how I looked. I was stressing about like trying to get more noticed and whatever. And even though I knew, even though I knew this next part, like it didn't actually hammer home until probably the end of this year, where it's just like if you ask out somebody, right? Or if you get asked out, what is the single biggest turnoff?
No,
The
be genuine. Be you.
no, the single biggest turn off.
Oh, turn up when you faking it.
Not even just that. Uh, when they see that you're desperate,
Mm. All right. Yeah. Yeah.
when you are like like consider dogs for a second, right? Like if they beg for scraps off the fucking table, you might throw them a bone a couple of times, but sooner or later you'd be like, no. That makes you sound horrible when I say it. No, like
No,
please,
100% though.
please
Listen,
feed your dogs,
yeah,
please.
as a dog, I have a dog myself, bro. Yeah, no. Every once in a while, I'm like, yeah, I got you. Yeah, here you go. But then, like, there are times where, like, my dog will like, she'll see me making like a grilled cheese sandwich, and she'll ask for a piece of cheese. I'm like, no, get the fuck up out of here, because like I know that I give you those, but you don't gotta come over here and beg me and cry for it. Like, I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, the exact same way that if you were in high school and you were trying to ask out a girl and you had no experience talking to women, like they can smell that desperation on you.
Please go out with me. Are you okay? Will you go out with me? Can we go on a date?
Like no, people are attracted to confidence.
Right.
That's just what it is. Whether that confidence is real or earned or not, like that's up in the air. But at the end of the day is nobody is gonna keep throwing bones at the guy that's like sniffing around, be like, "Mm, mm, mm, please, sir, may I have a booking?" On some Oliver Twist type shit. Nobody's gonna do that. Nobody.
I'm so glad you did that because I was gonna do it too.
Like I'm just being real with it. Like nobody, you get nowhere with that. So at this point, at this point in not just my career but in my life, I'm just like, pretty soon I knew I was gonna get to a point where I would hate the one thing that I love more than anything, and I wanted to make that happen. So
Yeah.
I came to a decision and said, you know what, fuck that. I'm gonna have fun with this. I'm not doing this just because I want a contract or whatever. I'm doing this specifically because I love it and I wanted to make it and I want to make it my living. But if
Yeah.
but what good is, even if I do make it, what good would it do me if I make it and I already hate it? You know what I'm saying? Like at that point, I'm just doing a job.
Yeah.
And and like at that point, like I could have just signed up for fucking for a city job or something. I could have done sanitation. I don't give a fuck. Like, no, I'm doing this because if I have to exist in this life, in the system we live in, I would like to do something that I would want to wake up and look forward to.
Facts.
I love going to the gym. I love going to train. I love every single second that I'm in the ring because to me, this is the biggest drug in the world. Like
Yeah.
being able to be in there and do whatever the fuck I want.
I think ultimately too. I mean, they say like if you ever if you're doing something that you love, you're never working a day in your life. And I there's some truth to that, you know. But like you said, like just like you said, you love being in a gym. That's part of the reason why I was grateful, man. I'll tell you, I'll be real with you, man. So like in 2017, right? Like I'm laying on the couch, not really doing anything. I've been like 5 years out of the military. I'm just kind of laying on the couch. I graduated college. I don't even know what I want to do. I'm just laying on the couch and I'm rubbing my belly, right? And at this time, like I'm 5'10", like 230, and I'm just fat. And I keep trying to convince myself, like, yo, I'm in good shape. I'm all right. I'm good. And my daughter, God bless her soul, looked at me and she goes, Daddy, you're getting kind of squishy. And my wife laughed. And I just went, oh no, I've become that guy. And so because of that, I remember going over like the next week to like a Planet Fitness in Catonsville, Maryland. I'm gonna say it too, be like that. And signing up for the gym, right? And then right before like I finished signing the paperwork, I put my gallon of water up on the jug or on the desk, and they told me I wasn't allowed to have it because they're like it'll intimidate other people. So I was like, well, go ahead and just cancel all my paperwork. I don't want to be here. I'm just gonna go find somewhere else to go work out. And I left,
You
and
can
I
say it
found
was
another.
Planet Fitness. It's okay.
Yeah, what's that?
You can say it was Planet Fitness. It's okay.
Oh yeah, it was all their fault. Anyway, so I left, and I found another gym called Retro Fitness, and I remember working out at Retro Fitness for like a full year. And then I met this dude in a random green T-shirt who was a big John Cena fan, and then he got me into working in the backyard, and then I went and found someone to train me professionally, and then from there, like I just took off. But if it wasn't for that moment, and what that moment ended up leading to, right, was me working even harder to get in better shape. And then it inspired me to want to inspire others to help them get in better shape and change their lives. Because if one comment, like my daughter, right, can say that and push me in a direction that turned out to be a positive one through wrestling, that was something I loved doing anyway, was just like watching wrestling. Now I get the chance to actually be in it. It changed so much stuff for me. It changed a lot of stuff for me because for me going to the gym, then finding my passion in wrestling, and then turn around and help me create this podcast, and then to get influence other people's lives to help them get better and get in better shape and to find themselves. No, there's no bigger reward.
Absolutely. Like the way I started was I've been a lifelong wrestling fan. My favorite wrestler of all time is Eddie Guerrero, and all I wanted was to be just like him. Um, Unfortunately, I'm not like half the athlete that dude is. I don't think anybody is. To this day, I will go up and down, and I will say Eddie Guerrero is probably the best worker I've ever seen in there,
Mm.
bar none. I don't give a fuck who says what. Man was the complete package. But anyway, uh, I knew from the time I was 10 that all I wanted to be was a pro wrestler. And all anybody tried to do was tell me, no, that's bullshit. Go do something else. Because at the time, I was like small and skinny, and I was into anime and video games and whatnot. Uh, I could have been considered a nerd if I didn't spend most of my like formative years like hustling, stealing, and just generally trying to like generally doing most of the bad shit you're not supposed to do. I'm just being real. Like I
I
wouldn't
still,
say
you
that
know
I
what
was a
though? I
I
still
wouldn't say
think
I was a gangster. I will say that I did pull my fair share of dirt.
I'm just saying that whether you're a gangster or you're a thug or you're a military member, whatever, man, behind that closed door, you're a fucking nerd, dude. I was the same way. I love Dragon Ball. I had a Game Boy. I had Pokemon Red and Pokemon Blue.
Yeah.
Like I played Yu-Gi-Oh, like the card game, bro. I was a nerd. I was proud of that
I used to
shit.
hustle motherfuckers in Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But like
On
nah, like but yeah, like at the time. there were so many people. Like I'll never forget this. There was a time when I was living with my grandparents, and they moved us down to like Florida for about a year, and we were doing this like career test. I don't know if the kids still do that. I hope not. It's complete bullshit. But I remember like I was taking it, and I'm just like, this is eighth grade. Why are you asking me? Why are you asking me what career I want to take at 13? Like, isn't that fucking stupid? I'm
It's dumb.
barely just finding out where my dick is. Like, what do you like? What?
It's true.
Now you're just like, now plan the rest of your life. What the fuck?
These 30 minutes will determine the next 40 years of your life. Like, nah.
So I take the test, and I don't remember everything that I got, but it was a long list. I think at least one of those was like astronaut. I'm just like, okay. But like I remember like I crumpled the list up and like threw it away. I was just pouting or whatever. And then one of the teachers came up to me and he was like, "What happened?" It was just like, "I don't care about any of this." He's like, "Well, you got to pick something." I'm like, "No, I don't." He's like, "Well, you have to pick. There has to be something on this list that you want." And I'm like, "No, there's nothing on this list I want. There's nothing on this list that interests me. I don't want to be any of this shit." So he was just like, "Okay, what do you want to be?" And I looked him in the eye and I was just like, "I want to be a professional wrestler." And he like snorted at me like, "All right, kid, see you in the papers." Just walked off. I never forgot that. I forgot this motherfucker's name and his face, but I never forgot those words. And I'm just like, yeah, you will, bitch. The fuck? Like, I have had members of my own family try to tell me to give up on wrestling because like I would never make any money off it or whatever. And I'm just like, so, to me, it's just like when you tell a child to give up on their dream, like you're essentially asking them to kill themselves. And that seems a little extreme until you consider that, like, what's the alternative? The alternative is to just like get a job, make enough money to survive for like 40 years. Hopefully, you get to access it by the time you retire, if you're able to retire, and then you just eventually die.
You die. Yeah.
Is that all there is to life?
Who's
Like,
happy that
no.
way?
If people could do that and actually find happiness, and this isn't me being like I'm not trying to be condescending to anybody's way of life. If you are comfortable making your bread and doing fun shit on the weekends and raising a family and this, that, and the third, absolutely go fucking do that. Everybody should have the right to do whatever they want to do with their life.
Hmm.
But do not come at me and try to tell me that this should be the way. Because you don't live in my shoes.
No.
Point blank period. Like I'm not built for a 9 to 5. I'm really not. The
I
reason
don't
that
think a
I
lot. To be fair, like not to interrupt you, man, but to be fair, I don't think I don't understand how people do the 9 to 5. Like I don't work a traditional 9 to 5. I don't. I don't like it. I'm not going to. I used to do it. I think it's stupid. I think it sucks. And like, what person, right? And if you do this and you love it, great. But realistically, what person works for another person and wants to make them more money versus making yourself the money? Like it doesn't add up to me. And then, I think about Damon Dash when Damon Dash was on the Breakfast Club and he was asking TJ Envy, he's like, "Are you a boss or do you have a boss?" And he's like, "I'm a boss." He's like, "Really?" I feel like you have to ask somebody for permission before you get to do something. Like you got to talk to someone about if you want to have a vacation, you got to ask somebody. I could just do it. And I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to run my own shit. And right now, I don't, but I will save up and I will do that because that's the thing. Like, I just don't want someone down my neck trying to tell me that you can't do this. It's like, motherfucker, man, I fought for this country. You better best believe I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want to do. You're not gonna tell me anything different.
I mean, yeah, like that, and that's just it. Like, if anybody takes anything from this podcast, if I would say follow your bliss, do what makes you happy, because at the end of the day, you don't gotta answer to none of these motherfuckers. You don't really have to answer to your bosses. You don't gotta answer to uh your friends, your loved ones, or your parents. You don't gotta. The only person that you have to answer to at the end of the day, for real, is the person staring back at you in the mirror. And if you can look at that person in the mirror and be happy with what you see, you won. That's it. Like, to me, that's really winning at life.
Yeah,
Like,
I think
because
about all
at
those
the end,
people. Go ahead, go
because
ahead,
at
go
the
ahead.
no, no, it's fine. But at the end of the day, like, this is gonna get dark, but like, nobody's gonna be with you in that casket. They'll go to your funeral, they'll be sad over you, they'll remember you, but like, and I'm not discounting that. I'm not discrediting that. But at the end of the day, I want to be able to look back at my life and say, yeah, I did everything I wanted to do. I'm all right
Yeah,
with this.
that's what I want to do. I just want to look back and be like, was there any stone I left unturned? And if not, great. And also, don't put me in a box. Just throw my ass in a ditch and just keep it pushing. Like I don't want to be a burden on somebody
I'm
else.
I've already told my best friend exactly how I want this to go. Uh, the details are with her, but basically just don't count on the barrier. Is all I'm saying.
Oh, I've
Like,
told numerous people now. I'm just like, bruh, when I go out and the beep hits and you hear the doo and they pronounce me, they're like, "Hey yo, it's 901. He's gone. Throw my ass in the car, throw me in the ditch, just keep it pushing. Just just don't say no words,
we don't get to
nothing.
smoke your ashes, bro. Like, what the
No, nothing.
you selfish motherfucker.
I just leave me alone, bro. Just throw me away. Just keep it going.
Yo,
I thought Big E, like real talk, I thought Big E had it best, bro. Bet he said it too. He said it on the was that Feel the Power podcast? Like he said it there, man. And I was like, hey, you know what? I know the VA would pay for my funeral. I know they would. I know they would have a memorial service for me. I know that would happen. I don't want all that. Just throw me in the ditch and just keep it driving.
it's like, all
Hey,
right,
man.
bro, you was a real one.
Yeah, just don't even say that. Just be like, "This your stop, bro. Get him out of here."
Yo, last stop for Red Dog. Oh my god, that's cold. That's cold, but
That's why I
low
want to
key, I
go out.
fucks with it.
Just imagine though, like you just see like, just imagine the poor sap that's like driving behind, and like I'm just like in the passenger seat, right? And we're driving. Dude pull over, stops, puts the car in park, opens the passenger door, and a body goes flying in the ditch. And then the guy closes the door and drives off. That's it. That's game, bro.
And then all of a sudden, you get your boys arrested.
Yo, I'm
Congratulations.
gonna have it. I'm gonna have a tattoo somewhere on my body that says, "This is where I want to be buried." It'll be in the ditch.
Bueno, you better hope that shit is fresh by the time they find your ass.
Yo, I'll be
You know,
like, "Yo, leave it here."
um, it sounds like this sounds like the that fucking movie Memento. Like,
Oh yeah.
oh my god.
Don't trust Johnny G. John G.
Oh
But
shit.
yeah, that's the way to go though. I mean, I was like, why do I gotta burden everybody? Plus, hey, listen, that funeral money that you're gonna get from me dying, hey, enjoy that shit. Take a vacation. You could think about me on a vacation, but Just leave me in the ditch. You don't got to put me in a box. Why? What's the point? You buried me in the ground. Just let some vultures take me, bro. Like they gonna eat me up too, and the wolves, whatever. They gonna
This went
eat
to a
me.
dark ass place,
Yeah.
bro. Like, what the fuck? How did we get here? We're
But
just talking about like the
yeah,
ways we want to die. Like,
yeah. Whatever. This
Jesus
podcast
fucking
is free
Christ.
reigns, bro. People, you
I
know
was
what's
trying to be on
crazy?
the I was trying to be on some positive shit. Like, God
Bruh,
damn.
I want people to full out be like, hey, you know what? This would be some shit that Red Dog would talk about on this
And
podcast.
y'all and y'all motherfuckers think I'm a miserable fuck. God damn.
But I'm not mad about it. Like I'm not like, oh man, you just leave me. No, I'm like positive about like, hey yo, I'm positive y'all gonna put me in this ditch and just drive off.
You're positive that you're about to decompose into the earth.
Man, I'm gonna
Like
be like, yo,
God,
man, I'm gonna come back as a tree. I don't know. Just let me enjoy
reincarnated.
it. No, but yeah, I mean, it's just it goes back to what you're kind of saying, man. It's like, enjoy your life, but man, like like you said, man, ain't nobody else gonna be with you when you buried 6 feet under. Ain't nobody else gonna be there, man. It's you. So, in as long as you can look yourself in the mirror and keep waking up every day and say, you know what, I'm proud of what I did, or I go to bed and I'm like, I'm proud of what I've done, bro. Great, do that. But ultimately, don't be some asshole who tells somebody you can't do that, or you won't do that, or don't do you. You'll never do anything with that. Like, how do you know? I understand. Like, on I understand that in like football, right? There's 55 men on a roster, right? There's 32 teams in the professional football league. The odds are slim. There's 205 D1 schools, right? And then there's hundreds of thousands of schools that have football. I get it, but if I listened to somebody who told me like I wasn't gonna make it, then and I made it, what happens? Then what do you do? Oh yeah, that was that guy that told me that. Just like you said, you should, all right, man. See you in the papers. What you mean? Like now, guess what you doing? You doing the thing. When I graduated from high school, one of the things I wanted to do was become a professional wrestler. And it was funny because everybody was like, "Whatever, man. It's just Cliff's so weird. He just loves wrestling." Sabiske, all those people back home, man, that were like, "Hey, I want to be a basketball player. I want to be a football player. I want to be this. I want to be that." They ain't doing it. They may be. Hey, some of them want to be teachers, and and good on you that you guys did what you guys did. But that's not. I was like, yo, I want to. I'm a whole fucking character. Let me be a professional wrestler. Here we
Like
are.
I knew what I wanted to do the second I left high school. But I tried to give college the old college try. You know what I'm saying? Like, because my English teacher, who was one of like the teachers that like really believed in me and all that, like really wanted to push me because like it wasn't like I was dumb in school. Like I was actually pretty smart. I didn't care. Like I didn't care. I never did my fucking homework. Like I spent most of school like either trying to sneak drinks, trying to sneak weed, playing video games, playing card games, trying to make money. Like that was my high school experience. And learning how to rap. And my teacher and my but I was always paying attention in English class because I love to read.
Yep.
I'm actually eloquent as fuck. But like my English teacher was trying to tell me like if you don't go to college with the brains you have, I'll never speak to you again. And I'm just like, all right, I'm gonna try. And honestly, originally I was trying to go to college because I wanted to get like a degree in broadcast journalism or whatever the fuck. Uh, but as it turns out, the places that I wanted to go that like had those degrees, they wouldn't accept me because my GPA was so low because I fucked around in high school. Like so like so I tried this like business school in New York City. I was like, what the fuck am I doing in business school? Like what am like a year in, I'm just like I hated school when it was free. The fuck am I going to the depth for this for? I
Yeah.
dropped out and found Johnny's and I started training. And I'm not gonna say that it's been a smooth ride from there. Like It wasn't a smooth ride. Like there was a bunch of people over the years that like tried to either bully me out of the business or run me out or this that, and the third. I've experienced a lot of shit, like a lot of racism, a lot of it. Uh, and just general bullying or whatever. And they'll tell you it's tough love to like try to weed out the weak or whatever, but like let's just call it what it is. It's y'all motherfuckers never getting past what was done to y'all. And all those people that either said I would never be shit or uh or try to run me out of the this industry, like you know where they at now?
Not in
Neither
the
do I.
industry.
Neither do I. And that's just what it is. Like at the end of the day, I knew from the jump that it was pretty much just gonna be an uphill battle and it was gonna be me against the world. That's not to say that nobody ever believed in me. I absolutely have my friends in the industry. Like I met Tyreek Taylor my second day of training, and we have been boys ever since then. I consider that man a brother.
It's funny
And
because I
like,
met Tyree coincidentally. Tyree was around for my second wrestling match ever. And then from then on, like him and I have just kind of had our own kind of like friendship that just kind of like run wild.
yeah. Like Ty is one of the realest dudes I've ever met in or out of this fucking thing. So like, shout out to him. Shout out to
Big
him
shout
and
out.
everything that he's doing now. Uh, I've got I'm lucky enough in a business where they tell you if you want friends, get a dog or whatever. Like I've been blessed. Hate using that term because it's so corny now, but like I've been blessed to meet so many people that are like now irreplaceable in my life. As a matter of fact, one of them is my current girlfriend, and I love her very much. If you're watching this, baby, she's not gonna watch this. Like nobody watches. Nah,
Everybody watch this show. What you mean? We have, you know, tens hits.
come
You
on, Red Dog. Nobody gives a fuck about me. Nah, I'm just
know, it's been
nah.
funny though because like what we want to find out, man, was they watch this episode, they're gonna be like, oh shit, like here's two dudes from two different sides of the world, two sides of a different coin, and they have so much similar interests that they're fucking hitting it off the way they do. That's how
Look,
that's how people want to view this episode.
yeah, the longer you live, the more you realize that there's a lot of shit that could tie you to people more than you believe.
Yeah.
So my advice to anybody is just like honestly, no matter where you are in life, and I know how hard it can be, believe me, like fucking believe me. I know how hard it can be. But my advice is to keep the ride going because you never know what every day's gonna bring you. And that sounds like a fucking cliche and a fucking platitude, but it's real. Like nobody guessed that I would be in this business for as long as I have been now. Nobody even guessed that I would make it to 31. You know how close I came so many times to being another motherfucker statistic. You know, like I could have been gunned down the street like billions of times over. I almost have been. You know, like I have at various points in my life. I have I've had guns pointed at me. I've had knives pointed at me. I've gotten jumped. I've gotten my ass beat. I've gotten left for dead. Uh, I've experienced all kinds of fucking abuse. I was threatened with homelessness so many times. I was actually homeless for a month. Like I've been through a lot of shit, and I'm still here. You know, I'm not gonna say it was easy. I'm not gonna say that it didn't leave scars, but like I'm still here and I'm still swinging because I ain't hear no motherfucking bell. And as long as that happens, I'm gonna keep it pushing. Like I when I said that I'm not gonna stress about like making it or whatever the fuck. That doesn't mean that I don't still want it. That doesn't mean that I'm not still gonna travel up and down the roads and wrestle wherever I can and fight for my spot and keep developing. Like no, but I am going to take back what I love about this. Nobody's gonna poison that for me because for so long the love of wrestling is what kept me alive, is what kept me going. My passion, my hopes, my dreams. I'll be damned if any one person or any fucking industry is gonna take that shit from me. I don't give a fuck who you are.
Mm, I like that. That's actually good. Yeah, as long as you keep it, you got the passion going, man. Like, ain't no one gonna take what you gotta take. Like what you getting. Like, there's this not happening. It's just not a thing that's gonna work out for anybody. And that's why you gotta be passionate about what you got going on. Um, I wanna end it on that, right? Because I feel like that message is like massive. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take it over to the 10 count podcast or my favorite segment of the, the 3 count podcast, which is the 3 count
Bro, that's your
podcast 10
own
count.
show.
Yo, hey man, it's fine. It's getting heavy in here. Now it's getting dark. Now I got to turn it back over. No, we got the 3 count podcast 10 count questions, and Mr. Adams. This is how it works. I'm gonna fire off 10 questions at you rapid fast. Whatever your answer is, that's your answer.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna put on the imaginary timer for added pressure. Bing. And in the words of my favorite commentator, Mike Goldberg, here we go. SmackDown or Raw?
SmackDown.
Favorite movie?
Shawshank Redemption.
Deadpool or Deathstroke?
Deathstroke.
Favorite TV show?
Uh, fuck. I had this. Um. Hmm. Wow, this is way harder than. You know what? I'm just gonna say Dragon Ball. Let's just
I like it. I like it. It works for me. Waffles or pancakes?
pancakes.
This would be the fun one now. Favorite cartoon?
I mean, I just said Dragon Ball, but also Batman the animated series, easily.
See, and that's why we do this game, because your favorite TV show may not be your favorite cartoon. Is you could you consider two different things. Like it just doesn't matter to me. Marvel or DC?
Honestly, I can't pick between either. To be real with you,
To be fair,
I
that's
love
good.
both. I love both sides.
I hear you on that. I personally I like the Marvel movies. I like the animated series for cartoons, but honestly, when it came down to Saturday mornings, when I was a kid, it was Spider-Man and X-Men, and then hoping that Batman was gonna be a fire ass episode, which I never had to be disappointed on. But yeah, I remember like really being looking forward to that. Favorite podcast?
Would you believe I don't really listen to podcasts like that?
I It's not a hard thing to believe. Like it's a
That sounds
common thing.
horrible. That
No.
sounds horrible to admit on a podcast. Uh, uh, actually, no. There is one that I like. Created by my friend Hannah Harkness. It's called Kate's Bunker.
Hmm.
It's on all your podcast hosts, podcast platform, whatever the fuck. You already know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, we know we got.
It's like that's what I'm into.
I like it. I like it. Nominate one person that you want to see on this show.
Uh, Nominate one person that should,
That should be on this show. Yep.
can it be a tie?
Yeah, 100%.
Either Brother Greatness or Big Game Leroy.
I like both those. I love both of them.
Fuck Leroy.
And then last but not least, my favorite question to ask every single person who comes on this show: favorite curse word.
It's fucked like too obvious an answer. I said it like a billion times on this podcast alone.
It's like the greatest word to use though, because you can use it for like every word in a sentence.
Oh my god! If any like wrestling officials actually listen to this, like we can't put this motherfucker on TV.
What you mean? No, trust me. I'm gonna share a story with you post interview. You're gonna be like, "Oh wow, yeah, forget
We're
it."
gonna bleep half this podcast
We are not
alone.
bleeping any of this. Don't worry. Y'all gonna
Yo,
just listen to it because listen, if Joe Rogan doesn't sense or edit his podcast, neither are we. So I don't give a fuck.
actually, I want to change my answer with favorite movie.
What's that?
Uh, actually, my favorite movie is called Fresh.
Mm,
It's an obscure, I would say relatively obscure, like '94 joint.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, Samuel L. Jackson's in it. Giancarlo Esposito is in it. I would highly recommend it. Like if you want to know if you want to watch a movie and understand who I am as a person, watch Fresh.
I'm gonna have to check that out because I don't know that movie, and I'm pretty good with movies. Like I'm a pretty big cinephile, so yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to beat this. But those are all my questions for this podcast. So the last thing I need from you is to let our listeners and our viewers know where they can find you.
All right, so I am still for some reason on Twitter. Honestly, you can find me like anywhere under the handle Shotgun Adams. Like I made that very easy. Uh, don't ask me for my Snapchat though. Yeah,
It's
you're
Shotgun
not my
Adams.
girl.
What you mean? It's across all platforms. Shotgun
Yeah,
Adams.
yeah, no. I have a TikTok. I just never use it. Like it's just there, and I know at some point I'm at to cross over to that, but like, do I?
No, you don't have to. It's good right
I'm
where you're at.
I will say to any fans out there, please don't add me on Facebook. Please don't. And it's not because I don't love y'all, and it's not because I'm not grateful to y'all or whatever. I just hate using Facebook.
Yep.
Hate it. Just add me on Instagram or Twitter or Blue Sky. Actually, Blue Sky would actually be a better bet.
Yeah, because it's still so new, and like people are just adding more people to it too. Like
Yeah,
I'm finding friends that I didn't know had Blue Sky, and I'm like just now adding them up. So I'm like, cool.
I'm having a way fun time on that. I will say that if you want to watch me and any of the stuff that I did, you could either go on YouTube or you can go on IWTV. To be honest with you, like I popped up there a couple times. Uh, one of my uh, one of my like at least two of my favorite all time matches are on there.
Mm,
One is
okay.
against Logan Black. The other is against Mr. Grimm.
Mm. Was that at a wrestling lab? I feel like I saw
Wrestlers
that.
Lab. Yeah, that was the first Wrestlers Lab show I
Yeah,
ever worked. Oh
I
my
remember
god.
that. I remember that match. I
Let
saw
me
that.
let me I'm sorry, let me tell this quick story real quick.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Do your thing.
Okay. So it's the day of the show and it is a 6 hour drive to Pittsburgh. So and I was already pissed off because I couldn't find my like show knee pads, like the AMAs, the good shits. So I had to put on the like these bullshit ASIC ones that I bought for like $20. So but like I'm putting a lot of pressure on myself because this is a higher profile match up to that point than I had ever done. And like Grim shows up and midway through the show, uh midway through the show, we get told that it's actually gonna be a no disqualification match. And it would pull out and it was my boy Special T, Tom Frazier, who whipped out two kendo sticks. And the first thing I thought in my head was like, but I am very proud of that match. I'm also not ashamed to admit that as good as as good as I gave Grim, that man beat my ass. Like I didn't realize how hard a kendo stick shot was until I got hit with it for the first time, and I'm just like, fuck! What the yo? Oh my god!
Yep.
That is the one. Like, listen, I've gone through a lot of shit. Like, I have taken chair shots. I have flown on the concrete. Like, I've gone through doors. I never want to take a kendo stick shot again in my life. Point blank. Period.
Mm.
That shit fucking hurts.
Yeah. Yeah, I could imagine. I could only
Yeah.
imagine. No, it's like I've been hit one in the back, and I was like, never again, never again shall we do this. Like I hate it. Yo,
If you if you if you want to know pure hell, try getting hit in the kidney with a bamboo sword.
I mean, I
That's
took
all I'm
across the
saying.
shoulder blades. Never again. Yeah. Nope. And on that note, like every great part of a wrestling match, we gotta take this home because this is the Three Count Podcast presents Now Entering, and I'm your host Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you out that mountain called wrestling. And like always, as your shirt puts, never about me. It's about who's into the ring. So who's into the ring? You see the man right there, Shotgun Adams. And you know what that means. Tune in to the next episode and be there. Or you're legitimately follow us on all of our social media platforms. You're subscribed to our YouTube channel. You're follow us on Spotify. You're even listening to us on Amazon Music. You're checking us out on that dumb app with the stupid jingle that goes, iHeartRadio, or whatever it is. You're checking us out on ProWrestlingTees.com or on ForYourWear.com. You're telling your mom about us, your dad about us, your aunties, your uncles, your brothers, your sisters, your cousins, your best friends, your enemies, because we love haters too. You're doing all that stuff, or really you're just kind of waiting for this episode to end. You're waiting for that outro, and then you're choosing another episode to listen to.
Like, you know, hoes.
Kawaii.